Hello, this is Hamid, and in this session, I'm gonna teach you how to set up basic configuration for Palo Alto devices. So in GNS3, I've already set up and installed the Palo Alto. It's gonna be a easy process. Just you can go to through the file import appliance, and you can import the appliance to GNS3. Then for our setup and configuration, I need here a Kali Linux because Palo Alto by default has a management port, and you can set up management port to access the firewall. And here, before the configuration, I try to configure some basic configuration in Kali Linux. I changed the RAM to 4096 and two CPUs, and here for the network I use only one network because I need only one network to connect to Palo Alto devices. And for Palo Alto, I go to configuration. Here I change the CPU number to 2, and I only need 3 network adapters, not 25, and try to change this one to Intel Gigabit Ethernet E1000 because I've seen that some um, bugs when you set it as a default, you receive some bugs, and we should configure it as an Intel Gigabit Ethernet for GNS3. The rest of the configuration is okay, and just I connect the Ethernet 0 to management interface, and then I start both devices. So here for a Kali Linux, I have to go through the live, and for the console of a Palo Alto, I can use the console default console, but it has some lags in the default console. So try to right click and choose um, custom console, and from here use the PuTTY normal standalone version, and just pay attention that PuTTY should be installed before choosing this item. Click OK, and now you have Palo Alto devices in your system. It takes usually 5 minutes to boot, and because sometimes it's uh, there are some process inside the Palo Alto, and for booting up the device and set up the configuration, it takes 5 minutes. And then here, in the meantime, I go to Kali Linux, and in Kali Linux I want to set up uh, here the IP address. So I set up the IP address as 192.168.1.2 for the Kali Linux. So here IPv4 manual 192.168.1.2. I want to set up 1.1 for my Palo Alto device, and 255.255.255.0 subnet mask, and the gateway is going to be 192.168.1.1. And just connect the interface. By default, the management interface in a Palo Alto set as DHCP. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm change the default DHCP configuration to a static IP address. And if you receive this error, um, because by default the username and the password of the Palo Alto is admin, and you should wait until 2 or 3 minutes, and after that you can enter the username and password. I just pause the video for a second, and after that I come back when the device is ready. So now the device is ready, and if you look at the Palo Alto, here we have PA-VM login, and I enter admin, password admin. So now your device is ready. In Palo Alto, if you enter the configure, you can set the configuration. So I'm now in the configuration mode. So here this arrow key means that you're in global mode. This one it means that you're in configuration mode. Now I want to set the uh, device config and interface config. So I just write it set device config system. So here you can use the question mark if you forget the command. And we have here, I think, type, and if you have a question mark, you see that we have two options. The first one is the DHCP client, that by default it is set as a DHCP client, and I can set it now as a static because I want to set it as 192.168.1.1. And then again you go to device config. Here you should set the IP address, and you set it system, and then we have IP address. So IP address is going to be 192.168.1.1, and the network net mask is going to be 255.255.255.0. So something that's really important in Palo Alto devices, after you have configured something, you should commit your configuration. So I commit the configuration. It means that now I am writing on the memory, and my configuration is gonna be saved in the memory. So if you restart now the device, and the device come back again to this step, to be sure that your configuration is set on the device, you can use show system info, and maybe, oh sorry, I have to exit here and show system info. So here is, you can see that now the device IP address is 192.168.1.1, and net mask is going to be 255.255.255. So now if you go to the Kali and enter the HTTPS 192.168.1.1, and now we're able to connect to firewall through the HTTPS. By default, the HTTPS is enabled on management port, and the username password is admin, and you can connect to the device. You get this warning that your device is set as a username password by default. You can change the username password, and now the first step is done, and just we set the IP address on Kali and the Palo Alto. Now through the HTTPS we are able to connect to Palo Alto. The next thing about the Palo Alto is that you're able to set the configuration, basic configuration, in device tab, and here we have some important parameters such as the host name and login banner that you can set it. If you click on the gear here, and you can set as, for example, PA01, and you can set the banner welcome to PA 01. Set the time for Palo Alto, and if your device is in different places, you can set the latitude and longitude for your device. uh, I just go through the some important points here, not all of that. For your banner and messages, again, we have some here, the gear icon that you can click, that the message of the day and the background color of that header banner and some stuff like that. You can set it here. Authentication setting, you can set the authentication idle time, fail attempts, and logout time. So if you click here, you can say, for example, for 5 fail attempts, um, log out for 2 minutes. And you can set the minimum password complexity here. So every time that you're entering the username and the password for the username, you should um, follow this policy, and by default is not enabled, so you can enable this policy, and you have some options here for password formats. And what else we have here? We have some options for logging and reporting. So everything for management of the device is in the general setting tab and the management tab. Again, we have some configuration that you can back up your device, that I will um, discuss about the backup in one session, how to back up and import your backup. We have a services that here you can set the DNS for Palo Alto device. That's really important, because if you connect your management device to the internet, you should set the primary DNS for that. And the primary DNS you can set as a Palo Alto DNS, or you can set it as a 8888 or 4224. And what else we have here? By default, the management configurations is here, so you can set the management configuration, default gateway, uh, the access of administrative access for management interface. So we have HTTPS, SSH access, and the ping access. If you need more access, you can just mark these options. And sometimes it happens that you need to change the speed and the MTU of your device. So it's going to be here again. If you have a specific IP address, you can set it here, permitted IP address. So just you can set it as 192.168.1.2, access this box. So you can set it here again. It's asking for a default gateway is required, so here we don't have any default gateway. I just set it as my IP address. And we have some other options, that such as content ID and wildfire, that I will discuss about that in the next session. And here you can see your interfaces. If you want to set the IP address in your interfaces, you can set it here. By default, the interfaces in Palo Alto devices is set as a tab, and you can change that one as a layer 2 or layer 3 virtual wire and HA. So again, we have some scenarios that we work together in the next sessions, that we configure some interfaces as a layer 2 or a layer 3. And for this session, I want to configure the basic setting for my Palo Alto devices. Then we have option here, commit, that you can commit your configuration after you have done. So now is the time that if we click commit, here you have some options that, let's say you want to see the preview of changes. So you click on that one, the line of the context 10. Okay, show me the, so here you should um, allow this one, so it will show you the changes. So we have here the changes, setting of a DNS and setting of the lockout. There's the changes and added here. So you can see that the green is the changes, modify is that color, and the red one is deleted. So then if I agree with this configuration, I can commit, and I can commit all changes, or just commit all the changes made by administrator. So if you have a different user, you can just commit some of them, or some of them that is done by admin. Now I have only one user, so I can say commit all changes. So it takes time to commit changes. Usually in VM environment, it's faster than the physical devices. So in a physical device, it takes time to change the configuration. Okay, the configuration committed. So I hope this has been informative, and thank you for watching.